Right. Okay. It's
Yep.
recording. Done.
It's recording, done.
Okay. So
Welcome, welcome to Butterflies of Wisdom, everyone. If you heard a little chaos in the background, that's because my guest is kindly recording this interview, and she's going to send it to me because my guest is coming from all the way from future in Australia. And I met my guest via Blab several years ago. Blab is no longer in existence. But my guest is a remarkable woman. She does paintings for the heart, I guess you would say. And she calls herself the Heart Whisperer. Well, without further ado, I'm going to let Miss Suzie take it away.
thank you so much, Wynn. Hi, everybody. I am just so delighted to be here with Wynn. And as Wynn said, we met a couple of years ago on a wonderful platform called Blab that no longer, but we actually got to see one another there in person. So we've been looking to do this for a long while, and we did try last week, we just didn't record. So here we are now. I'm the Heart Whisperer. I'm Suzie Cheel. You can find out more about me at suziecheel.com. And I live, as Wynn says, in the future. I live in what I call paradise in Australia, in the southern end of the Gold Coast. It's the middle of winter here today. The sun's shining and I'm sitting in t-shirt. So it's pretty magical. And, of course, it's the next day. It's Wednesday. So I'm called the Heart Whisperer. We'll come to that, how that came about in a moment. But I've had a very varied background. I've been a teacher. I've been a trainer of childcare workers, like a college lecturer and head of a department. And then in my late 30s, I didn't get a job I was acting in for 2 years. And I ventured out to set up Suzie Cheel Hand Painted Originals, a textile business. And I was somebody who at 11 had been told I couldn't do art because I couldn't draw. So to embark on that path, but what I did then is not a lot different to what I'm doing now. But what I did then was I coloured people's worlds. They wore my art on their bodies. And at the same time, I was still very involved in personal development and creative change. I did a postgraduate course and a master's degree in social ecology, which was about building textile online communities. And this was back in the 80s and 90s. And here now I am. How Wynn and I met was because of social media and because of community. So that's really, really important. What I do now has come out of, and how I became the Heart Whisperer has come out of an experience, a near-death experience I had 6 years ago now. And it's fascinating because at the moment I'm writing my book and I'm reading back through the journal that I wrote then. And it's like my whole Heart Whisper message was given to me. I was given this near-death experience, which was, and my autoimmune system went rogue. My kidneys totally stopped functioning. And I was told I had a 25% chance of living a normal life. So I often say I had a choice, life, death, or dialysis. And in a heartbeat, I chose life. I told the doctors surrounding my bed at the time at Tweed Heads Hospital that I was going to meditate, I was going to use my law of attraction tools, and I was going home. And they just looked at me as if I was mad. I had drips and catheters and whatever else in me at that stage. It's been a very long journey. But as I say in my book, which is called Lucky to Be Alive, which came from my mother, because this was my second near-death experience. When I was 16, I was knocked over by a car and I was unconscious for a week and my heart did stop. And at 16, I lost all my hair. But I went on to study and be a teacher, and I've travelled and done a lot of other things. But that lucky to be alive title just came to me because my doctor here in Tweed said to me, when I asked her one day what caused it, and they said, well, they don't know. But she said 5 years ago, they would have had to be doing an autopsy to find out what happened. So I feel very blessed to be here. And what I got one day sitting in a dialysis chair, because I am naturally a very positive person. I know an old friend sent me a message by phone when I was first in hospital and said, well, if anybody is going to come out of this, you're the most positive person I know. So I thought that's very encouraging. But I was sitting in a dialysis chair, and I did have dialysis and plasma exchange for a long while. But I asked, what is this all about? And I got a download. And yes, I'm a very spiritual person. And the download was, Suzie, this is all about love. When you fully love yourself, you will be healed. And that will be anchored in inner peace and pure joy. And then you will share this message with the world. So I heard that and I wrote it all in my journal, and I thought, wow, I've been working on myself, I don't know, since my 20s or 30s. I bought Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life, when it first came out. So it's a bit of a wake-up call for me. So since then, I was on a long healing journey, because I won't go into now, but I had a lot of complications because of all the drugs I was on, and I got osteoporosis, so I've been bone building and things like that. But what came out of that was I started painting again. I had just started painting before I got sick, and because I won a reading from a friend and she wanted to give me a colouring book, and I said, I don't need a colouring book. I've got a room full of paints and papers. So I started painting. She gave me a prescription, a 21-day prescription. And that's just given me an idea. I'd forgotten about that. And as part of my healing, I started painting hearts. I decided to do give myself a 45-day painting challenge. Why 45 days? I have no idea. And in the middle of it, actually, I had a relapse and landed back up in hospital. So some of the paintings during that 45 days are pretty black drawings from when I was in hospital. But I finished that series and I went on to heal, and I started a series called The Heart Whisper e-zine, where I painted a heart each week and I channeled a message. And that has since grown into the Heart Whisper Oracle cards, Daily Guidance Oracle cards, and something I'll share at the end that I'd love Wynne and other people to be involved with. And it's also gone into me building what I am building now, is what I'm going to call my Heart Whisper Empire, which is my business, where I do readings, I do Heart Whisper intuitive sessions, where I help people discover their passion and their purpose and learn to love themselves again. And I have another process called the Heartscape, which we will no doubt talk about later. So that's a quick snapshot of me. And one of the other things I love to do, and if you follow me on social media, I love to be at the beach. I walk on the beach most days, and I'm passionate about health and cooking.
Well, geez, you have it all. You have it all. And one of the things I am going to let Suzie do, which she did last week, which didn't get recorded, is do a card reading on me, so you guys can hear what she actually does. So before we move on to the baseline questions, I'm going to actually have her do a card reading on me.
Ah, right. We're going to do the reading first. Right. Okay.
We are going to do the reading first and see what that comes out, and then we're going to move on to the baseline questions.
Okay, great. That's fine. Okay, Wynn, I did a reading for Wynn last week, but because other people haven't experienced what it's like to have a heart whisper oracle reading, what we do first is we just, normally I would do a little meditation, but today we're just going to get quiet. I'm going to ask Wynn just to close her eyes and tap into her heart and ask maybe what it is, what's the message I need to know today. It might be something about your life, something about your business. One of the ones I asked myself yesterday before I did my own reading was, what will I do today to be aligned so I can serve fully? I often ask questions about what's my next step in business, or maybe if it's a healing thing, what can I do today to further my healing process? So when, if you just tap into that quiet space that's in your heart, and I will do. Okay, great. So we asked today for this intuitive reading to be for Wynn's highest good, and that it may guide her, just getting on your next step, that's going to allow you to shine even more fully than you are now. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw one card, the first card, which is the focus card. And then I'm guided by my heart, so I'm shuffling again. We're going to draw another card, which is the action card. And when I do this online, you can sort of see what I'm doing, and you can see I'm not looking at the cards. I've got 3 cards sitting here. One will be the outcome. So we've got the focus or the challenge card, and the first card I've drawn, Wynn, is listen. Find a quiet place each day to simply listen to the whispers of your heart. So my question to you is, do you take time, rather in the morning or at some other time during the day, where you just sit in stillness and maybe ask a question, or just be and tap into those? I call them heart whispers. It's your inner wisdom. It might be your divine guidance. It can be your angels. It can be God. It's whatever speaks to you. But so when, that's my question for you, do you actually take time each day just to be in quiet, in stillness?
No, but it's funny you should say that. I got a call earlier saying that, Wynn, don't go into email first thing in the morning. And she was talking about something else. And I think this is going to be I know this is going to be part of my routine before I open up the textbooks.
Right. Okay. So this is really good. I think I mentioned last week what I often what I do with my clients, and when I'm even doing readings on my Facebook page, I usually say to people, right, okay, so focus on the card, and then whether you use a paper journal or on your phone or something, or a recording, you might ask yourself, right, so how can I make that time each day to listen? It's really important what you've tapped into, Win, that each day you, it's about giving yourself time, and it's about honouring yourself, is to give that time to you before you get into your email or into the computer or whatever else, because this is like very sacred time for you, and it says that you're really honouring yourself as well.
Yeah.
Right. So that's your focus, and that's your focus card, and that's also your challenge card. Okay, the second card, it's one of my favorites, is prosperity. And the message on the card is, when you follow one path, prosperity will flow. And I think just because you mentioned something earlier about that had come from the reading from last week, was is sometimes we are pulled in so many different directions. And I really understand this really fully, that, you know, we're often looking outside of ourselves because there must be something better or something, but there's something that our heart that really wants us to know. There's a path that we really need to follow.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I got sick 6 years ago was because I was trying to be everything to everybody. And it took me a long while to learn that, and I'm still sometimes learning it. But now that I'm totally focused on this heart whisper, I know exactly where I'm heading. But it took me a long while. Now, that probably relates to you with what you want to be doing at the moment, Win, as well. Is that right?
No, which all my fan base knows, I had a health scare, a major, so we thought, health scare in March.
Oh,
and
wow.
So I almost had to have my back redone, and I've had this vision of becoming a journalist since doing the Kona Ironman. No one knows that up until today. Thank you very much. I told one other person in my life, now it's public, that I have had this vision of being a journalist since doing the Kona Ironman, since competing in the Kona Ironman.
Wow.
And that's been, and it came to me. I'm looking at the picture right now as we do this interview. It came to me in a boat that I was being pulled in, and you guys didn't know that.
We didn't. No.
Because yeah, it came to me in the ocean of Kona, Hawaii. And I was, well, if I'm going to continue to do this triathlon journey, I need to get a degree in journalism, because my story is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Turns out that my teammate turned around to my aid and did something awful, and then I decided to quit being a triathlete, and I'll get to why in a minute. And then, but I still held that vision of being a journalist, of so I could go watch Kona Ironmans from the sidelines,
right,
and interview people, and so I still held that vision in a boat on the ocean in Kona, Hawaii. And now that vision is coming true.
And so this is a confirmation for this, that because when we look at prosperity, we're not just looking at wealth and things. We're looking at wealth within our health and our business and our relationships and the whole picture. So your current focus, which you mentioned before that you need to do, is on this journalism, is going to, you follow this path. And as we, from the cards last week, you had something about trusting and letting go. And when you see what the outcome card is, so this is your action, is to follow one path. And then your outcome card is knowing. Knowing you are enough allows you to let go and trust, and then watch your life transform. Excuse me, I just have a drink of water. So that builds on the cards reading I did for you last week, which is about trusting and letting go. And knowing you're enough ties in with this taking time for yourself to listen, to whether it's to meditate, whether whatever works for you. And meditation doesn't always mean, you don't have to sit there like a Buddha or whatever else. You can do an open eye meditation, but it's about having time for you to be still and acknowledging the magic you are, the diamond that I tell everybody. We were all born with a beautiful diamond inside our heart, but it gets tarnished. And the more that we spend time loving ourselves and creating time for ourselves, the more that will shine again.
And that leads me to my first question, and then I'm going to ask you a question that wasn't on my list. First thing out of the chute, a lot of people don't understand my right is right, and a lot of people do not understand how much teachers make, believe it or not. I got a text message saying, is 125 too much for something? And I'm like, yes, 125, because I only make 150. And as you know, Suzie, from the professor level, professors don't make that much either. So the reason why I'm following this path is because I want to make more money. Talking about wealth, I can make more money in 2 seconds flat than I could teaching. And so that leads me to my next question. Why did you change your path from being a teacher to a heart whisperer?
Right. Okay. Well, so I've had many careers. I started off as a preschool teacher, but alongside of being a preschool teacher, I always did something creative. I used to do something called tie-dye or shibori. I've made jewelry. I've been a weaver. I was a weaver alongside when I was teaching many years ago. So what happened for me was I had this career path where I was a teacher. I went overseas. I was a nanny to the Australian High Commissioner in Nigeria. I taught for 4 years in London. And then I came back to Australia and I set up a childcare centre for our local national broadcaster. And then I started weaving. So I was doing creative things, but then I started doing like childcare type things, and I got a job in what you would call a college, what we here called Technical and Further Education, TAFE,
yep,
as a early childhood lecturer. And I taught a lot of creative things. I was a lecturer then, but then I moved several colleges and I was appointed in an acting position as a head teacher. So I ran a whole department. I still taught, but I ran a whole department. And in the middle of doing that, one of my staff put something on my desk one day, and I started down this much deeper path of personal development. But in the meantime, having acted in this job for 2 years, and I just expected, after I applied for the job, I expected to get it. And I didn't get the job. And I didn't get the job because I wasn't good enough. I got the job because of nepotism. Somebody was being looked after. and the principal of the college wanted me to appeal. And I said, no, I'm not going to appeal. I'd just been on a holiday. One of the things I loved about teaching, we got lots of holidays. I'd just been.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You're talking to
yeah, that's right.
Preschool teacher here.
Oh, right.
Yes, you do.
I'd just been on a Club Med holiday with a girlfriend about 4 months before, and I'd started painting on silk. Before that, I'd been a weaver, and I'd done weaving part-time. I've always done something creative alongside one thing. I'd never made my art my business. And I just embarked on a postgraduate course in what was then called social communication. And I was doing that, and I got this call saying, you didn't get the job. We're moving you to another college. And I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated. And I thought, and then the principal rang me and said, right, we want you to appeal because we don't want to lose you. You're a good college member and everything. And I just said, no, I'm going part-time. I knew there was an option to go part-time. And I don't know where I had that confidence or whatever else. I started painting on silk part-time. I set up a studio in one room in my house. I went and approached some people who were running a craft show. I made a skirt and a top from what I'd painted, and some scarves I'd painted, and took them over there to see these people. And they said, yes, you can be in this show. That's how my business started. And I started painting on fabric, mainly silk and wool and some cotton. I made a range of children's clothes with cotton. I did shows. I sold in galleries. I sold in tourist areas. And I did that for about 15 years. And alongside, I helped my husband with design work and things with his business and things like that. So that was the shift. The push was, I was doing something I loved, but that sort of, I got kicked in the face, and I thought, I've always wanted to do something creative. And fortunately at that time, my parents, who were very good public servants, had been, I grew up in a public service town where you have a job for life. I embarked on this, setting up a business, and then I had a house, and I bought another house. I sold one and bought another house because it had a granny flat, and we built a studio. And for 15 years, it was a really wonderful business. I made high five figures and things. But then my passion, people were wanting me to paint the same things all the time. I painted meters or yards and yards and yards of blue and purple fabric, and the galleries weren't paying, and not as many galleries were closing. And I lost the fun. The passion went out of it. And I've still sold work, and now I am selling textiles again, but somebody else is doing all the printing now on print on demand. And I am looking at producing a new range of scarves, which will be a Heart Whisper range of scarves, of course, now. So that was that change. But I'm somebody who I suppose has had quite a few career changes, and I enjoy that. And a lot of my contemporaries are retired and go on cruises, and here I am building a new business.
Yeah. No, my dad's retired, and my stepmom is still working. Yes, I do have a stepmom. She will be my legal stepmom soon.
Right.
But it's so funny because people are either set up for the cubicle or they're not.
That's
and
right.
you and I are not set up for the cubicle. You and I are just, the cubicle drove us nuts.
We probably. I don't like rules, Win. I don't know about you. I'm not very good at following rules.
No. oh, the admins, the admins looking over your shoulder in all cubicle classroom. The admins looking over your shoulder. I don't diss admins in the least, but the admins are just, they, in a sense, they are squishing creativity out of kids. And I think creativity needs to be put back in the classroom. Honestly, I do. But that being said, to those who want to be aspiring heart whisperers or aspiring writers or aspiring business owners, what do you say? Do you say keep the 9 to 5 job until you can fully push the 9 to 5 job out the door? Or do you say take a leap of faith and just do it?
It's very interesting. I think it depends. Right, okay, so when I took a leap of faith and gave up superannuation, regular income, holidays, all of that, I was able to go part-time. I was able to work 2 days a week till I was actually, I did that for 6 months. I think I was only able to, was about 6 months I was allowed to do that for. So in that 6 months, I was able to create a new income. And that is the safer way to do it. But at the time it was exciting for me because, you know, I bought and sold a house in the middle of it and things I maybe wouldn't have been able to do if I chucked the whole job in at the time.
Yeah.
What would I do? I think it depends on the person. Taking a leap of faith means that you must have that total confidence in yourself that you're going to, you don't want to cause yourself a lot of stress. And if we take that leap of faith without any backing, some people, you know, it's great if you can maybe go part-time, or you can start something small, because you need to know that leap of what it's actually about, finding what's the message. This is what's coming through for me at the moment. What is the message that I'm going to share with the world that is going to fulfill my passion, is going to do what I've always wanted to do, which was to create change and to make a difference in the world. And how am I going to turn that into a way that I'm supported in the way that I want to be? So I think it has to go, it comes very much from really when you fully love yourself and you've released all the judgment and you've let go of all the what ifs and the woulds and the shoulds and the coulds, then I think, and you've got that full confidence, you can probably do anything, because you will attract the people that you who maybe want to buy your art, the people who want to work with you, the people who want to read your books, depending on what it is. So I don't think, I always think it's, you know, to say people, just, you know, leap and everything will appear, can be a bit scary and hairy and maybe a bit irresponsible. So I would never tell anybody to do that, but I would work with that person to find a way that they were able to be comfortable and at the same time share that, discover what that message is, what is their passion.
Yeah, exactly. And trust me, if you heard noise in the background, my stepsister is here, believe it or not. And so that's the noise in the background.
No, I couldn't hear any.
And we had a bear here last night, and we're trying to chase bear away. Thank you very much. So my night and day have been chaotic, but that's my end of it, and this is not Susie's end of it. But to get back to Susie and what she was saying, I agree. I built up my company 11 years, people, before I took the leap. And I am taking the leap in 2019 because I just got a phone call / email saying if I get straight A's in journalism school, my graduation date is fall of 2019 because I'm going for my associate's degree. So I'm quitting my job in 2019. So bye-bye teaching job, bye-bye stable income. And so I'm super excited because, as Susie said earlier, trust and let go. Everything will come to you, and everything is coming fast and furious, quite frankly.
Well,
And
Sylvia, that's
so,
what happens when once we can let go and once we can really let go of all those it's our limiting beliefs that we have that hold us back. I know, I mean, I've had to work on and I'm still working on some limiting beliefs. I think that's what people need to know is when you start on this journey of change and this journey of self-discovery, and you really do find that passion, it's not immediate, but the more you believe and the more you do the inner work, the more what you want does manifest. And as you say, it's coming faster. Hello? I seem to have lost Wynne. Wynne, are you still there? I'm not sure what's happened there. Oh, well, I'll wait till she comes back. So what I was saying there, so we really need to, fully love ourselves. And that's what I've found with working with my clients. Recently, I worked with somebody who didn't love themselves and felt they weren't worthy. And I was able to take them through my heartscape process over a period of about 8 weeks. This person became able to say to me, I love myself. I know I'm worthy and I've found my purpose. When I get that feedback from somebody, I know that I'm in full alignment with my purpose and my message. So, as Wynne's not here to sign off, I'm not sure what's going to happen with this recording. But for those, if this is being used, if you'd like more.
I am back.
Oh, you are back. Okay, so you may have to do. What happened. You may need to do some. I realised you were gone, and I kept talking about the self-discovery, and
well, that's okay.
Oh, that's okay. So I'm not sure. Anyway, we'll keep going. Now you're back.
Now I'm back, but I was saying that I built my company up for 11 years. I've been building this company since 2006. I was a self-taught artist. I'm picking that back up. And so I'll be a self-taught artist. I'll be a writer. I'll be a journalist. So that's my career path there. But all you have to do is take a leap of faith. But before you do, step your job down part-time. You don't have to quit it completely. And Susie just said that's what she did until she was ready to take the leap of faith.
That's right.
And so my next question, Susie, is what is your favorite book? It doesn't have to be a business book. It just has to be a book that you go back to time and time again.
What is my favourite book? Well, what came to mind is something I actually haven't picked up recently, but was Eat, Pray, Love.
Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert.
Gilbert.
And, yes,
and I have
you
another.
can find that on Amazon, you guys.
Yeah, that's one of them. Another one I have is a special book, but it's called Freedom Is, which I used a lot as part of my healing journey, by a woman called Brandon Bays, who has her own very interesting story as well. And that's on, that would be on Amazon as well. It's called Freedom Is.
Well, Freedom Is and Eat, Pray, Love. And here's another one for you by Elizabeth Gilbert, Big Magic. That one.
Now that is brilliant. That is a brilliant book, actually, yes.
Well, there's another one for you, Big Magic. And Susie, where can people find you, and where can people get a hold of you? I know you're all over the place, and I know once you have this interview up, you will share it all over the place. And I apologize for the technology issues, and I apologize for the people issues too. But that's called life, and that's called a podcast that needs to go on without any interruptions. And so where can people find you?
Right, so people can find me on SuzieCheel.com. That's SuzieCheel.com. If people want to know more, or if people want to see me live, I do live readings twice a week now. I do the weekly reading on your Sunday, my Monday on Suzie Cheel Inspires, which is my Facebook page. So what people need to do is, if you just do @Suzie Cheel, you'll find me all over the web. I just operate under my own name. And if people want to tap more into their heart whispers, my cards and things are on my website. And I also, you want to have a 1-card reading, just make sure you're following me. You can friend me on Facebook, but make sure you're following my page so you get notified when I'm going live. So that's, and then if you're on Instagram, Twitter, wherever else, the same thing, Suzie Cheel. So I'm easy to find there.
Suzie Cheel.
Yes.
I thought. And for those of you who are now confused as to Z is Z in America.
That's right.
And I'm like, yeah, you're going to throw my fans off. So I just thought I would interject. They're going to be like, what is that? So Z is Z in America. So make sure you put the Z in Susie's name. Because,
yes, the S doesn't. S doesn't. SUS doesn't work, but SUZ does. That's right. Oh, and I meant to say, if anybody would like to join I have a Heart Whisperers group. You just type Heart Whisperers into Facebook. You can come and join us there. It's free.
Yeah. And so, Susie, what are your final questions for me as we end this beautiful interview, despite the technology issues, despite the people issues?
So I suppose what I'd like to ask is, how will you take the reading that I've given you today and move forward with this?
How would I take the reading that you've given me today? First of all, I'll put myself in a moment of silence before I open up the textbooks every single morning so that I can focus on my day. And second of all, I'm letting things go. I need to let people go. I need to let things go. And that is hard because I have a little bit of a control issue. I like to be in control.
I know
And
all
so
about
I
that
need to
one.
let people go. I need to let things go. So that's the second one. And the third one is I'm focusing on my journalism degree like there's no tomorrow. I'm even quitting my job because I can't do it. I can't do it. Susie knows how much professors make and how much child care workers make. Even in Australia, they don't make much. And someone asked me the other day, they're like, well, are they paying you less because you're disabled? And I said, no, they're paying me what I deserve, one, which they're paying me what I deserve, one, which is not very much to begin with, and teachers don't make very much.
I know the teaching profession used to be up there on a pedestal, and now it's changed.
Pigeons.
But it's so important. It's so the work, if you were a preschool, the work we did as in that preschool, kindergarten, or whatever else is so important. And it's just it's really unfortunate that that isn't elevated up either in the just in society as well as in the money rankings as well.
Yeah, no, and a lot of people, unless you're in the profession, a lot of people don't understand that half your paycheck is eaten up by your cell phone bill, and yeah, by your cell phone bill, and because cell phones are expensive, and so but that's a whole nother podcast in itself. And
right.
So I make more money. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so that's wonderful, and I'm just going to do what I would do to anybody who I've done a reading with. I will send you the cards. I will send you the pictures of the cards, so you can actually put them on the podcast so people can see.
Yeah, I will. I will try and stick them on the podcast. Maybe I'll make an image out of them.
Well, what I'll do is I will put these three together, and I will send you an image you can use. Okay, so you don't have to do anything with it.
Exactly.
I'll do that as soon as we finish, and then I'm going to follow up with you next week. It would be good if you do you keep a journal, Win?
I am going to now.
Right. So I want you when you get the cards, just write the cards at the top of a page, and then just write down what you've said that you're going to do. And I'm going to check in with you in a week and see how your early morning listening and things is going. Okay?
Yes, my accountability buddy. And Susie's not doing this only for me. She's doing this for anyone that signs up for reading with her.
And absolutely.
She does phenomenal readings, as you guys heard. And I just want to thank you guys for putting up with this podcast. This podcast is actually cutting back its recording days to Tuesdays, and it will be airing on Tuesdays and Thursdays because Wynn's insane if she holds a podcast and doesn't focus on her journalism in degree. The cards are saying focus, the universe is saying focus, so the podcast will have to take a back seat. But the podcast will still be in existence, you guys. But I just want to thank Suzie for coming on at 8:30 in the morning Australian time and sharing her wisdom with all of us.
Thank you, Wynn. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here, and we've got the recording this time, so that's wonderful.
Yep, we do. And I appreciate all of you guys. and share this episode out, and we'll see what happens. Thanks, you guys.